Kelsey. Good morning, everybody. Just in time for Kelsey's drawing to see who the lucky winner of the pluck, if you've been watching, is. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. As we watch with great suspense for Ollie to push the button, there it goes. All those names that we know and love come flashing in front of our eyes, and the winner this morning is Cam's dad. Congratulations. We're all winners, aren't we? We're here. So welcome to Morning Coffee with Mitch. Tuesday edition. Where did Monday go? Wow. Well, let's get on with festivities. Let Kelsey finish up over there, and you'll come and visit with me now. First order of business while we wait for class to let out over there, the students to run down the hallway to Professor Mitch's classroom and get started. In the meantime, drink it if you got it. That's good. That's good, yes. We'll put the blues band to sleep for a while, and I'd like to say I'm starting to wake up, but I've been waking up since 5 o'clock. It's been a full day for me already, and many of you as well, because right at 6 a.m. I was watching Kilts, and so many of you are already there. So I don't feel bad about starting early. Wow. It's a joyous day, my friends, and I hope you agree. And if you don't agree with me, please let me know. I have the power now. Yesterday, I didn't have the power. Today, I have the power. YouTube, Google, listened. They listened and gave me the power. What power, you ask? Well, I'll tell you what power. Notice in my chat, those annoying number 1, number 2, purple blotchy things are not there. I couldn't believe it. When I set the video up yesterday, there's a separate page I have to go to and click a box that says, show the chat during the replay. And a lot of people who watch my replays want to see the chat. And if I forget to turn that on, the default is off. Well, there's 3 settings on that page, and yesterday there was 4. And the brand new setting says, disable that stupid ranking. And I said, whoa. And I clicked it. And I was in suspense this morning to see, when I finally got in and looked at the chat, if I stopped seeing the number 1, number 2, number 3, all that stuff, which I understand why they have it. And in some chats, the egos of the chatters are so fragile that they need to try to accomplish something every morning. And that just makes for an awful lot of useless space filling and time consuming for me to look at chat entries which just has thrown a monkey wrench. So for those of you who really made you feel good to be number one, sorry, you're still number one with me and the rest of us. So looking at the comments, thank goodness, great, Mitch. Yeah. And hopefully I'll remember every day because, it defaults to on. I can't change the default setting, and it's just one more thing I have to custom tailor every time I create one of these streams. But adios. Adios. Ugly, purple, blotchy things with those rankings, which didn't mean anything anyway. So there you go. Thank you, YouTube. They eventually, remember what I said when I first started? I said, oh my God, they got to give us a way to get rid of that. This is the most annoying thing I've ever seen. And how long's it been? 2 months? Maybe more? 3 months? Lamb says, well done, Mitch. Target says, I care about going number one. Most of the regular guys, Rick, Charger Mopar, and Thomas, and most of you guys would get that anyway because you're prolific in that chat. But I don't think we'll miss it. So hopefully, thought that would be fun to point out. I don't have much else to point out today. Kilt's had a wildly different kind of stream this morning. His guest, the one main thing that was promised, they never delivered on. Never. I kept waiting for it. It was in the title. This guy was the one of Tom Cruise's chefs, evidently. And I kept waiting for Tom Cruise to come up in the conversation, and because I was wanting to find out if this guy actually got Tom Cruise to eat liver, or whether Tom Cruise ate liver. I mean, inquiring minds want to know. These are important things, for God's sake. And they never got around to that. But the conversation was very, very introspective, philosophical, evolutionary, root causal, discussing all the things that come from the place where I actually live my life, looking at a result and just curiosity to figure out what caused that. You've heard me do that. I do that all the time. That quest of mine is the reason why my videos then get 50,000 views. So many people don't understand the points I'm trying to make. The critical thinking aspect of everything. When they talked about taste and how important it is, not just in our pleasure, but in the signals it sends to every aspect of our physiology, and how we're so easily manipulated by scientists who go for that bliss point, hijacking the real purposes for some of the intricate and sophisticated sensory things that happen in our body to trigger certain biological functions to influence what we do and call instinctual. Well, they really went into that, and I was sitting there saying, wow, I wrote all about this in my book 20-something years ago. Just this type of thinking. Nobody could read the book. They couldn't follow it. Nobody cared. As they became more and more and more manipulated, and like Kilsey said, invented stories to try to explain all these things, which are so easily explained if we just look inwardly, understand what instincts are, where they come from. And I was spellbound then. I didn't participate in the chat other than to wish Ali a happy birthday. Happy birthday, Ali. But they were talking my language and those concepts. And I knew that Kelsey always thought along those lines. That's why I have such deep respect for him and the way he thinks. Always theorizing, always asking, well, we know this happens. We can observe this behavior in animals. How come humans have gotten so far away from this? And the answer is that we become susceptible to somebody else's story. And animals may not tell stories to people, but they may. They may communicate. They all communicate. I've always known that plants communicate and animals communicate. I take it one step further, and I talked in my book about the reality of the sixth sense and how all animals are communicating constantly at a subconscious level, and talk always about the power of the subconscious and how powerless our conscious mind is to control it, which is why we have cravings, why we get addicted. And the evil scientists that do understand this stuff, how they weaponize it against us. It is my message in a nutshell. And for the first time today in a discussion where I expected to hear whether Tom Cruise liked organ meat or not, a level so superficial that it appeals to most average minds, he talked about things that I've been thinking about all my life. He talked today about the transaction overload that I've talked about over and over again. He talked about the way information is crammed at us at an increasing speed and nobody ever slows down. And I talked about that when I explained why I can't stand to watch shorts with flashing text all over the place and scroll through TikTok videos, and I refuse to play that game. And I was elated to hear that I'm not such an oddball after all. There are one or two other human beings on the planet that have recognized the damage that this has caused, not only to us physically, but to our entire society. So thank you, guys. Thank you. I don't know if you hear this or not, but it was important to me. And I hated to tear myself away to come in here and sit down and fire up the morning show. But I had my cell phone listening. And for the first time, I basically listened to every single word. As far as Pluck goes, his seasoning thing, it's great. Sounds like a great idea and a good concept. I may have to try it. I did make it of his website, so we'll see. But it was a brilliant stream. So I hope all of you who were there really enjoyed it. And thank you for coming. Thank you for coming over here. Our audience is building. We don't get the whole Kilts audience just to follow over here. It just doesn't happen. He finished with about 160 or so viewers on YouTube. I'm up to 96. Not bad. Not bad. And in answer to one question in particular, no, 55 is not too old to start carnivore. But we all know that here, don't we? We all know that. So let's see who was the first one in this morning. Let me get going here before I burn the whole hour pontificating like I usually do. Carnivore Chat was the first one in yesterday, followed by Smoothie. Hi, John. Thanks again for the cigars. Michael Pregler was here. Aunt B. Hi, Aunt B. How are you doing? Peter chimed in last night, and Manny Beddoes last night, and Jem at 3 o'clock in the morning. You probably won't be here this morning. I haven't really looked at the chat yet, but that's in California, so you were getting to bed about midnight, I guess. Maybe you're up. Be a little early for you. Mitch, great video today. You are the professor. Yeah, it was a great video. I thought that video on microbiome was inspired, and I talked about it yesterday on the live stream, and I struggled. Do I just make a video and play cuts from the live stream, or do I make a whole separate video and talk about my thoughts on the microbiome and probiotics? Well, I made a separate video. I said, wow, this video is going to really fly. Everybody's interested in the microbiome and probiotics. I think it managed to garner about 800 views, which means most people view me with that deer in the headlights look now. Can't follow what I say. Aren't interested anymore. Unless I'm talking about how to cook a chuck roast, reviewing a new air fryer or kitchen tools, or living in that wildly superficial place that does appeal to the average mind of people who aren't interested in why anything exists at all. At all. People who just say, listen, I'm too busy. I've got 5,000 TikTok videos to watch today. All I want to know is some practical tip, and I'm on to the next one. And it's either that, or I've simply just alienated 90% of the people who have ever watched me because maybe of my opinions don't agree with theirs, especially in politics and religion. And I'm not going to compromise who I am just to pander to those people. And I'm perfectly fine, perfectly happy if the numbers aren't there. But at least the people who watch me tell me that they're getting something meaningful out of this. Otherwise, I'm completely wasting my time and your time. But for right now, I know I got a core group of people who can think and do understand some of what this crazy mind of mine comes up with. And it was so refreshing this morning to listen to two other crazy minds theorizing about what might be at play, not what like Kilt says, the story that you hear tells you is at play. The only story that matters is reality. The rest of it is theory, hypothesis, and fiction. Or a good sales pitch from a clever marketing department who thoroughly understands the scientific basis for all of our weaknesses and how they can appeal to them to move us to action and herd us and keep us from straying too far away from the herd. Brian Dish, good morning to you. We're here in the morning, and we have Mike Silly Sr. here at about 6 in the morning. Wayne Herman chimed in. Thomas, how are you doing this morning? Good to see you. Rick himself. Rick is here, and Lambs is here. Larry Ryan, good morning to you. Jeff Strezlike. Wow. Another close one. I went right down to the wire. But the winner this morning was Lambs. Lambs, how are you? Congratulations. Drink it if you got it. You know I can't resist that. I already had my big cup of stinky leucine coffee this morning. while I was watching Kelsey, and now I'm drinking my iodine-laced coffee, and later this morning I will drink my creatine-laced coffee. Seems as though I never drink any coffee that's unadulterated. So coffee for me has become a drug delivery system, evidently. But it seems to work. And the good news is neither the iodine nor the creatine affect the taste of the coffee whatsoever. So it was just a leucine, and I've gotten used to that now. It doesn't bother me. I can actually almost enjoy it. So for those of you who have tried the leucine, take heart. Take heart. You really don't need to put all that butter and cream and sweetener and all that stuff to get it down. Drink it black. You get used to it, and you actually acquire a taste for it. Maybe we can do that because the actual reality of the fact that it's good for us, then that message gets through to our sensory system, and it stops presenting a bad taste to us because it knows. I'm more likely to believe that we adapt in those ways. And that explains the phenomenon that we label an acquired taste. We all know what that means. If you manage to eat stuff that is repulsive to you long enough, and your body learns that it's good for you, you will acquire a response of good taste instead of bad. That's our body's defense mechanism against eating poisonous things. We just have to convince our subconscious it's okay. And our subconscious extends its permission to us. That's normal. That's how instincts are formed in the first place. Robbie Audrey came in instant after. Robbie, so close today, but no cigar. No cigar. Speaking of cigar, I watched Kelsey's live stream last night. His Zoom call. Got in a little late, was outside, did it on my cell phone, and smoked a cigar through the whole thing. I'm sure thoroughly disgusting and prompting criticisms from so many of the good people that were in that. To all those good people who I may have offended with my cigar, because I put up with you guys cooking, exercising shirtless, doing all these other things which are more offensive than me, than my cigar smoking should be to you, but we're all free to do what we want. And you don't care, neither do I. But I love you all. But I still love you and respect you. And what you feel you need to do to have a good life. And in the final analysis, none of that hurts me or affects me in any way. We're all too easily offended these days. We shouldn't be. We shouldn't be. Marla Kelly is here. Brian Dish chimed in after 7. Richard, is that cranium? Holy cow. Wow, Richard, cranium. Williston, I know where that is. Good morning. Good morning, Richard. How are you? How's everything in Williston? Williston, Florida. Yes, sir. Loretta Nadow's here. How you doing, Loretta? Good to see you. And Michael Pregler chimed back in. Rick wants to win the duck. Step right up. Step right up. And this is Maria McM. Good morning to you. It's going to be a beautiful day, she says. Loretta Wallach's here. How are you doing? How are you doing? And superhero in the house, Steve Rogers, Captain America from Kansas City. Don Schonger's here. Mike Pregler is back. Amy, always good to see you. How you doing, Amy? Rockin' Coach, Amy. Congratulations. We're coach now. And John came back. Smoothie, Greta Brunswick. Gang's all here. Gang is all here. North Dakota Carnivore's here. Johnny, Drone Flyer, my buddy from the old drone days. How's the drone life treating you these days? With all the chaos that's going on in that community. The government sticking their hands in everything, including banning the biggest manufacturer of drones in the world from selling their product in the United States and throwing complete and utter turmoil on top of everything else into a hobby that so many of us loved and pretty much are afraid to even do anymore, unless the drone police and the Karens of the world will not let us just enjoy what we do because of the imminent danger that we pose. That includes our model airplanes too. Honorary Main Runner is here. Terry P is here. And let's see if we can get on with this. Put some QQQs in the chat, if you would, please. And I will ferret them out. Is Peter here? Where? Yeah, Peter's back. See, he's back here. Good. Peter will alert me to these questions. And I think yesterday I did real well. I think I got to all of them. I love the fact that you people usually ask me for this, and I'm going to be presumptuous today and put my Buy Me a Coffee link in. So I thank you for that. I see Jerry Voitish had a question, and I'll get to that in a second, but let me pin this message to the top so it's convenient for anybody that feels like helping support this sports channel, since YouTube doesn't want to seem to support me anymore by pushing my videos out to virtually anybody other than the few people that normally watch them anyway. I can see that in the numbers, in the number of impressions, in the recommendations. They have pretty well canceled me and shadow banned me and will not allow me to get hundreds of thousands of views on a video. I don't care. I really don't care. Most of those people were just annoying anyway. And the good news about all of this is I'm having more fun doing this now. Less pressure to produce videos every day. Enjoying my live streams more. And with a little help from my friends, there's enough money left to make it somewhat worthwhile, at least to pay the bills for what it cost me to do this. And fortunately, I'm not desperate, so I've kind of settled in to this role of just a little pissant YouTuber with a small following, trying to help people, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. So I put the Buy Me a Coffee link, and I don't expect people to do that every day either. But there's a lot of you out there. So anything is appreciated. And Jerry Voitish, here's the question here, and it'll come up later in the chat as I get down to it, but I'm going to address it now. Question: I thoroughly enjoyed reading your book. That is, I hate to say it, with all the people that I've given the book away, people bought the book. I give it away to everybody who's a private community member. There's a download link for a PDF version of it in the description of every private community live stream we have. This is the first comment I've ever gotten from somebody who actually finished reading the book. I'm okay with that. I know that book is, if you think Kiltz's theorizing about how things might work is wild and sometimes way out there, you have no idea what the inside of my mind looks like as I try to figure out why things are the way they are and why we behave and act and function the way we do. And I wrote that book 24 years ago. What's going on in my mind since then dwarfs the thinking that I had done up to that point. I thoroughly enjoyed reading your book. I was amazed that 20 years ago you had a thorough grasp of the excellent Mitch information we hear repeatedly. Thank you, Jerry. That means more to me than you can imagine. Good morning from Ponte Vedra Beach, because in 23 years, I have not changed my thought on virtually anything I wrote in that book. I still believe, I figured it out. I believe that it's still that way, and there's more and more evidence of it. The only thing I changed was my views on nutrition and diet, because in that respect, I have learned so much since the Atkins days. It was a good start, but any dietary stuff I wrote about in the book had to do pretty much with the low carb, the fact that the sugars are causing the problems. But we hadn't even made the association of the word carnivore with an actual lifestyle yet. Carnivore was just a scientific description, just like herbivore and omnivore were. There was no carnivore diet 20-something years ago. The thought of doing what we were doing today would not have even been considered. It would have been considered so ludicrous and restrictive that nobody could ever do it. And there really was no market or money in promoting it in any way. But the advances we've had in science in those 20-something years have validated all of those things where I did change my mind. And yet, the things I said about diet back in 20-some years ago are still absolutely true. Sugar is still the enemy. Nobody had talked about seed oils, oxidative stress very much. Only the people selling antioxidants, and there's always been plenty of them. So thank you so much for that, Jerry. That was very gratifying. It means you are a gentleman and a scholar. And like I've always said, there are very few of us left. Where did I leave off here? So I'm looking for questions and comments, and we're just going to freewheel it like we usually do. And before I know what happens, an hour and something is up. And I tell you to take the rest of the day off. John is here. Surely, John, you're not the only John on YouTube, but good morning, everyone, says John. Sharon McCabe is here with us. And Anthony, hi, Anthony. Peter says, hi, everyone. I'm in training today, so I'll not be able to be in the chat a lot, if at all. Okay, Peter. Then I'll try not to rely on you today, but what training are you in? Are you in furniture training still? What else can they teach you? Want to buy a couch? This here's a couch. You like this couch? Will that be cash or credit? That's it, Peter. You've been trained. Got the clothes for you in there and everything. That close is called an alternate of choice. It's a great way to close the sale. Peter is probably very familiar with the alternate of choice. Would you like the red one, or do you like the blue one better? An alternate of choice is when you ask somebody a question that doesn't matter which way they answer it, they bought something. Will that be cash or credit? You want the large or the medium? That's one of the most common closes. It's done to us all the time. We don't recognize it as a close. We think they're being considered and giving us some options, assuming that the sale is already made and the people, when presented with that. There are 50 different kinds of closing techniques. And it would scare you to learn what they are and apply them to your past life and have to recognize just how manipulated we've all been by these things. And that's why Peter's in training today, to teach him how to close. And Peter knows that too. I know that because all my businesses required selling. Sometimes it was selling to big government contract customers, but selling nonetheless. And I had people that worked for me as salesmen, and I had to teach them all of this closing stuff. Because that's what you do when you own a company that has to sell things. And most companies do have to sell things. I am reading the chat. I'm at 7:15, so I'm about 20 minutes behind. Not bad. Not bad. I do like the fact they don't put those stupid numbers in the chat anymore. Brian, good morning to you. How are you? And Peter Kruger has a question. Why do you prescribe probiotics with antibiotics? Anybody else see the irony of that? I imagine the thinking along that line from the doctors are, well, we're going to blitz virtually every microbe in your body. We know, again, a presumption that's based on ignorance. We know that you can't live without a gut full of these beneficial bacteria, and let me tell you which strains they are. So after we've got done completely obliterating both the good and the bad microbes in your body, we better cram you full of what we consider to be the good ones. Now that's where, and I don't want to get into a deep dive again about probiotics, but that's where I completely disagree with the whole concept of even thinking about your gut microbiome and trying to control it in any way. Basically what they're doing is the whole theory, the whole industry of probiotics to manage and regulate the population of a few hundred different strains of bacteria that will proliferate and prosper in your gut is based on a false assumption. And you see it everywhere. And it was completely evident in that Google AI search I did yesterday. The assumption is that the healthy diet is one rich in plant-based foods, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and legumes. The reality is that if you eat that diet, you have screwed up your entire physiology. And in that case, the strains of bacteria they want to fill you full can prosper on that poisonous diet. We are not cows. That probiotic mixture of strains of bacteria may be perfect for a cow that has to ferment all that animal matter, but we're not supposed to do that. So the first thing they do is they get you on this deadly diet, and then they prescribe all this other shit to help you not die while you eat it. And that is the practice of medicine these days, not just from a gut biome standpoint, but from every disease caused by eating poisonous foods. Heart disease, diabetes, dementia, everything. And an excuse for them to sell you drugs. So what they're really doing to you, starting with the false presumption, the false premise, that fruits, vegetables, legumes, seeds, fiber are necessary and good for you, and that red meat is going to kill you. starting from that standpoint, what the medical community is really saying to us, in reality, again, which is the only story that's valid, in reality, modern medicine is nothing more than the treatment of the results of mass poisoning. Has nothing to do with what's healthy or not. And the industry that's been created from this is why we're in the shape we're in today. And it's screwing with our brain chemistry too, and turning us into a bunch that more resemble The Walking Dead than any other movie I can think of. We are becoming zombies, following the directions, filling the prescriptions. I'm telling you, I know how to fix it. Whether our society would survive that fix or not, that's another story. We don't fall for it anymore. But it still took incredible guts for me. With the brainwashing I was getting from these doctors when I had this stroke, and what I had to do to survive it, I had to basically give them all the double-barrel middle finger, convince myself that I'm basically smarter than the entire medical community with all of their big fancy hospitals and their white coats and their high salaries and half the U.S. economy now. I had to convince myself. Now, that's not easy to do for anybody, and it wasn't easy to do for me. And I still leave it open that maybe I was a little wrong. But for me, it's now an odds game. And I'm going to take what real evidence I see over the stuff that they preach, which I can find so many holes in, find so many areas it's wrong. And when I Googled that microbiome issue yesterday, and I saw that the first thing that came up was diet is the most important thing that influences your dysbiosis, your microbiome. You should be eating, and there it came. Mostly plant-based, fruits and vegetables, healthy whole grains, legumes, all of the poisons known to man that have caused all of our problems. I immediately in my mind said, well, this whole microbiome shit is a manufactured excuse to sell more shit to people while we recommend a poisonous diet to them. And that is, I think, a very short and concise way to sum up the entire medical community except for people who deal in trauma and accidents. And that is simply plumbing and mechanics. Screws to screw together broken bones, plates. That's Humpty Dumpty stuff. They're good at that. They're good at that. That's such a small part of modern medicine these days. While they build more dialysis clinics, more emergency rooms, bigger hospitals, more cancer treatment facilities, more nursing homes, more hospice centers. Keeping everybody busy, keeps contractors busy, drug companies busy, food companies busy. And how do you fight that? One person at a time. All 119 of you are not here for me to blow air up your skirt and tell you how smart you are, just to compliment you for the fact that you're a realist. And something in your life has caused an epiphany where you said, holy cow, I can't believe I'm letting them do this to me. And then trying to change back to a appropriate way of a lifestyle and how to get over some of the addictions and hurdles and challenges of trying to live in a world full of sheep. And that's the problem that faces us. That's the real problem that faces us. We might know what the answer is, but we're damned if we can overcome powers that are greater than our conscious mind and not fall off the wagon every time one of our kids walks by us munching on a bag of Doritos. They did this to us. They took advantage of our natural, inherited tendencies of self-preservation, and they're using it against us. It's evident every day. Chris Wayne says, "No, Mitch, that talk was very informative. Well done." Thank you. Thank you. I wish 50,000, 100,000 people could have seen that. That might have been more informative and useful to people than the video that Ken Berry could have put out yesterday that got talking about carnivore myths. I'm sure it was a great video. I didn't watch it. I'm sure it was very informative. But I said, maybe the message I put out in my little video might have been more something everybody should have heard, but because of YouTube and because of my own stubbornness to not just tell people what they want to hear and go along with all their wacko ideas. People don't like me and have tuned me out, and that's the reality. And that's a decision everybody has to make. If I really wanted to be a big YouTube star, I would make YouTube videos that appeal to every one of the base human instincts of sex. I'd have a hot-looking girl on the thumbnail. I wouldn't even put my face in the video. I'd probably use an AI voice, but I would create videos that people couldn't keep from watching with clickbaity thumb. I know how to do it. And make a ton of money and do nobody any good except perpetuate the current direction that we're all taking. So I do it this way. And sometimes I get a little frustrated, and I love all you people for allowing me to go off, because if nothing else, I am a passionate guy, and I have deep, deep passion for the beliefs that I have, and I can't just act them away and out of the picture. Can't do it. Michael Pregler. Michael, it's guys like you that tell me I am on the right track. It's people that understand and take this stuff seriously and aren't just here for drama to see Mitch go off on a rant, but to understand, or at least to have somebody agree with your understanding, because we like that. So that's a great compliment, Michael. Thank you so much. And I do value you as a viewer, as everybody else who comes in here every day. My hope is that having, let's say, come out of the closet and not kept anything back over the past few months, there will become more and more people who find me that are enlightened, who are finally realizing how to separate marketing from reality and how to put all of these so-called experts, the doctors, the medical community, knock them down a peg from their arrogance, because their whole entire industry is driven by ignorance of reality. And the more they learn everything from the drug companies, the more the drug companies are writing the continuing education, the more the drug companies are paying for all the studies, the more they rely on these wacko, liberal, vegan universities like Tufts and Harvard for those studies, trying to lend legitimacy to nonsense. The more and more people who don't think at all who only react while they're busy looking up what channel is the football game on tonight or American Idol. While that group of people, which is the majority these days, simply follows the herd and opens their wallets. The really sad part is so many of the people in the medical community are actually just that stupid. They're a member of the herd and actually believe the crap that they're telling us. That dietitian lobbying for meatless Mondays in schools, more pizza, more fruit, more sugar. The hospital dietitian that's killing the patients, feeding them 99% sugar. They believe this. I had the displeasure of having a conversation with these people when I was in the hospital. You know me, I didn't hesitate to tell them, you're wrong. I tried to be tactful about it. I would say things like, have you ever considered this? Have you ever thought about it that way? They can't comprehend a rational conversation. They only know facts. They were taught this. They had to answer that question on the test to get certified as a dietitian. And by God, that is the truth. It's settled science. I hate that word. Settled. No science on the planet is 100% settled. It's settled science. If you say anything against that, you are now labeled a denier, and we're trying to figure out ways to criminally prosecute you for being a dangerous human being to society because you're preaching something that contradicts our advice, which everyone knows. You should be eating all those plant-based foods, healthy fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, legumes. Avoid meat and saturated fat at all costs because that causes dysbiosis in your gut, and your microbiome will now work against you. And that's what they think. It is nonsense. It's fairy tale. If it wasn't so harmful, you talk about people that should be in jail. Yeah, it's us carnivores telling people to eat meat. What a world. What a world. Peter's back. Hiya, Peter. How you doing? I'm not getting through the chat too much. I would hope that the fact that I open up my mind and just talk is why you're here, not just to hear me say hello to you. Because that would be easy. Yeah, Rick. Thank you, Rick. Oh, well, why would anyone care if I smoked cigar? Because, well, it's very simple, Rick. That's human psychology. That's why that's called being judgmental. Why are people judgmental? Everybody has some of that in them. I try not to, but I'm certainly judgmental. We're all judgmental. Think about that. It's self-elevation. Well, look at that. I don't smoke cigars. That's disgusting. It's a way of self-aggrandizement. It's a way that you can feel better about yourself by looking down your nose at the other guy. So we all do that to some extent or another. But that's why people feel that way. And I feel the same way about the guy, and I won't mention his name, who makes us watch him in a little square for an entire hour, half naked. He's not that good looking. Exercising. But that's his choice. But I certainly say I could live without that. You know, I could live without that. But that's not my place to judge. He can do what he wants. It makes him feel good. That's fine. As long as he doesn't judge me for my cigar, publicly. He can think whatever he wants. I don't give a shit. Everybody is still a little kid inside. Every one of us. I don't care. We never outgrow it. We needed validation as a child. We needed recognition. Look at me, mommy. Look what I'm doing, mommy. Look at me, mommy. Look, I'm running, mommy. Yeah, love me, love me. We all need that. And we don't stop doing that, even though we get to be 80 years old. We still want people to admire us. That's the basic human needs. People are judgmental because they want to. Don't look at him, mommy. Look at me. Human behavior is an amazing thing. You want to learn a lot about human behavior? I mean, you really want to know? Spend a few years doing nothing but observing animals in the wild. You'll learn everything you ever needed to know about human behavior. And that's where we got most of it. Thank you, Thomas. As you were smoking, Mitch, I don't care. Perfect, Thomas. That is the attitude. That's the attitude to have. Peter, what did Peter say? Peter, old guy, can you please pin the Buy Me a Coffee link? I did that. Has anybody bought me a coffee yet? No, not a one. Okay. I might not. Yesterday was an okay day for coffee. Thank you very much. I don't expect the same people. It's the same few people, really, that do that. And that's okay. I don't buy other people coffee either, so I don't buy Kelsey coffee. Try to support Kelsey in other ways. I don't dwell on it, but I put it up there. When I don't put it up there, I can know for sure nobody's going to buy me any coffee. But my earnings yesterday from YouTube, my revenue from all the effort, couple of videos that I've done recently, live streams every morning, my advertising revenue from YouTube last night was about $12. About $12. I mean, it's absolutely a joke. And then I see some stupid video, meaningless, trivial shit, has been pushed so hard that it's gone viral and has gotten 2 million views because it had a hot-looking girl on the thumbnail. That's where our minds are at. It doesn't surprise me. What surprises me is that, Mitch, why aren't you doing that shit? Start another channel. Start putting out sensational crap. And if YouTube finally decides it's too raunchy for YouTube, just start another channel when they delete that one. That's how people do it. They don't work as hard as we do, trying to help people. Oh, did I shame somebody into a coffee? I don't know. I don't see it here. Yes. Thank you, Tristan. Thank you, Tristan. Tristan says to me, good morning, Mitch. Here's that coffee. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'll drink to that. Oh, this is great. I'm having fun this morning. I'm feeling good. God, it's almost 8 o'clock already. Wow. I got to start getting through that question. This is one from Jerry about the book. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Am I half an hour behind? 28? Yes, half an hour. Okay, I'm going to start flying through the chat. I want to get the questions. Shen Papiro. There's a name that here's a great question. Oh man, I love this question. Neither you nor I have enough time left in either of our lifetimes for me to give that question a meaningful answer. What's the meaning of this universe? Why do we live? Well, I'm going to default to Bill Cosby for that. When I was a young man, when I was a young man, in my high school outing, my high school senior prom outing, we went to a nightclub in Cherry Hill, New Jersey called the Latin Casino, and Bill Cosby was the local comedian opening up for Jack Jones, who was the headliner. Names, judging by the age that you look in your picture, were way before your time. And nobody knew who this Bill Cosby was. In fact, we thought it was Bill Crosby because we never heard of Bill Cosby. He was just out of Temple University in Philadelphia. Nobody ever knew about him. Hadn't started molesting women yet. Well, that's what they say he did. But he was a funny guy. He was a funny guy. A stand-up comic. Never had a TV show yet or anything, but we went in there and sat down, and Bill Cosby came out on stage and was the funniest human being I'd ever seen in my life. His old routines. And one of his old routines was called, "Why is there air?" Which this question reminded me of. One of those philosophical questions that you just can't answer. But he did, and his answer for why there was air was, well, why do you think there's air? Now, you have to know that Bill Cosby was an athlete, basketball player, a jock. Why do you think there's air? There's air to blow up basketballs, he said. And that was all that needed to be said. So I wish I had a pat answer for that, like Bill Cosby's answer. What is the meaning of the universe? All I would do if I tried to answer that is probably piss off everybody for one reason or another, so I'm going to let that lay. But thank you so much for that. That's a great, great question, believe it or not, because everybody should spend a couple hours every day in deep, critical thought and introspection, trying to answer that for themselves. You'd be amazed what you might learn about yourself trying to answer that question. So cool. And if you put that question up there as a troll, I thank you. I thank you, because it's a great question. Right up there with what's the meaning of life? Pooh. There's one. You want to provoke people. There's one. Helen Hot Stuff, my favorite YouTube name. I love it. I love it. Helen Hot Stuff. Question. Hello, Mitch. I would be interested to hear your opinion on the PSMF. My opinion on the PSMF. Anybody want to help me out here? PSMF. I have a pretty big acronym library, but that one doesn't ring a bell. Protein sparing. Oh, you guys keep asking me about this stupid protein sparing modified fast. You keep asking me. I care so little about it that I stopped recognizing the acronym. Think about the term. What does it mean? What does it mean? Protein sparing modified fast. Think about what it means. Does it mean you eat less protein? No, it doesn't mean that. It means that people are concerned about losing protein when they fast. That's what it means. So this is supposedly a way to fast that will make sure you only lose fat and you don't lose protein. Now, what do they recommend that you do eat? It says here, very low calorie intake, typically less than 800 calories a day. So to be on this fast, you need to eat less than 800 calories a day. I'm sorry, my friends. You eat 800 calories a day, you are not fasting. You're closely following the diet advice that has killed more people, and that is eat less, move more, count your calories, starve yourself. You never get any of the benefits of fasting when you're eating 800 calories a day, period. You're still eating, you're still digesting. This is my opinion of this. There may be some bogus or crazy scientific studies that show it works, but it doesn't work for the reasons that they named the thing. First of all, a fast means you don't eat. There's no such thing as a fat fast, a sardine fast. It's not a fast. Stop calling it a fast. A fast is when you don't put a calorie, a bit of nutrition in your mouth, maybe some water, and you breathe. No food. Then your body can go into autophagy. Your body is not going into autophagy when you're eating. And then it says you have to have a high protein intake. Well, we all know, at least we should know by right now, what a high protein intake does. It leads to something called protein poisoning. You can overdo protein. The body will take those proteins, turn it into sugars, and all kinds of stuff. We know in carnivore that the proper diet is 20 to 30% protein tops, 70 to 80% fat, no sugar. Those are the metrics. Whether that's true or not, that's what we think we know, according to somebody's story. So the whole concept, the first time I saw this protein sparing meal, I didn't know what the hell it was. It's not anything I would ever consider. And then I looked into it. Since I looked into it, I've almost forgotten it again, so I re-looked it up. Low carb, less than 20 grams of carbs a day, and a low-fat intake. So let me get this straight. By not eating fat, first of all, it's not a fast. It's a stupid, low-fat, high-protein diet, which is going to kill you. That's what it is. I can't see any reason, any benefit. They tell you to do it for 4 to 6 weeks. Yeah, that's good advice, because any more than 4 to 6 weeks, you are going to suffer the consequences. So my short answer to that question is, it's nonsense, it's bullshit, it's destructive, it's harmful, it's not a fast, it's a high-protein, low-fat diet. And if you think that's what you need, have fun. But stop making YouTube videos, getting lots of clicks, because here's the real truth. You ask anybody who does long-term fasts, like Nelson or Kiltzer, Dave Asprey, or anybody like, they will tell you that the last thing in the world you will ever lose from a pure fast is muscle mass. Your body does everything it can do to preserve the lean muscle. That comes from the fact that a fast was, in the caveman days, was not something people did because it was trendy. They did it because there was no food. They would not survive if they lost muscle during a fast, because they would not have been able to hunt and end the fast. And the ones that survived because their genetics produced physiology that preserved lean muscle at all costs. They're the ones that were able, after 3 or 4 days of not eating, to have the energy and the brain power to actually go out and hunt again and provide food. Those that didn't have that trait, their family trait history ended right there, and none of that programming is a part of any of us that are alive today. That's the why. That's the why it's nonsense. It couldn't possibly be correct, because in nature it would have been contrary to how our bodies work to preserve life. So all the people on carnivore who go on long fasts, 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, find that they're losing fat, because the fat and the fat that we've stored is where our energy comes from. And until you get to the point where you're so scrawny and emaciated from starvation on a fast that your body runs out of fat to tap into, you're almost dead already, then we'll start to cannibalize our own muscle in a last ditch, last gasp effort to stay alive. It's a great question. Great question, Helen. Great question. My advice, and I don't like to give you advice, I can just tell you my logic and thinking. Laugh at it and go on to the next subject. PSMF. Oh, there's so many acronyms. So many. The fact that it's got an acronym, it's that popular that they had to come up with an acronym and people know what it means, is dangerous to me. It's like the sugar diet. The sugar diet. I don't hear much about that anymore. That thing came and went. That got played way out of hand. And everybody who's a sugar addict said, sugar diet, you say? Let me get this straight. My afternoon meal, I should start with a 3 bags of Skittles, and then I should put a cup of table sugar over the top of that. I should then pour chocolate sauce into it and just keep, crumble up some candy bars and throw them on top, and maybe a scoop of ice cream. Tell me more. That sounds... And you're telling me that will make me so thin that I'll be ripped in 3 or 4 weeks for that bodybuilder competition and I should eat no meat? Wow. I'm going to make a YouTube video about that because everybody's going to want to know about this. It's such nonsense. It's all. Mitch, what about PMS? LOL, says Jim. Those abbreviations are getting crazy. Yeah, PMS, I'm, like most men, very familiar with that one. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's great. That's great. Anyway, I hope I get my point across here. Tuka gave me a super chat. Thank you, Tuka. Super sticker. Thank you so much. Ellen is in the house. Hi, Ellen. Ellen loved to do that too. Morning, Mitch. And chat friend, says Ellen. Good to see you. Oh, right. Don't forget the cherry, says Lily. Yeah, it's crazy. I got asked that question a couple weeks ago, and I really didn't know what it was. I remember that I had looked it up when I first heard it, but that's been a long time. But it was so absurd to me. Just in the mislabeling aspect of it all. How could you consider anything a fast when you eat less than 800 calories, you get 20% of your calories from carbs, and eat low fat? How could you consider that a fast? How could you call that a fast? Why do they have things like potato fasts, watermelon fasts, sardine fasts? A fast means you don't eat. Call it whatever else you want. Call it a diet, because that's what it really is. Protein-sparing diet? No, it's a high-protein, low-fat. Any diet that consists of low fat as a component is screwed from the start. Now, you may be able to hack your biochemistry for a week or 2 or 3 in order to accomplish a rapid fat loss, which is what the sugar diet does. But interesting enough, they finally figured out by tests and experiments that it wasn't the sugar aspect of it that caused all that weight loss. It was the no protein aspect of it, because they did the same diet and replaced all the sugar with fat. So it became a high-fat, no-protein diet. 100% fat instead of 100% sugar. And they got exactly the same results. So it turned out that the reason why these bodybuilders got ripped in a few weeks was because they didn't eat any protein, and that was the effect it had. It was very destructive, very damaging to their health, but it was a short-term fix. And because that became so popular and got so many clicks on YouTube for all these rocket scientists out there telling you how to fix everything instantly. No need to go on a diet for years. You're going to lose all that fat. We can take it off in 3 weeks. You might kill yourself doing it, but... And the good old American public only interested in a instant gratification and a quick fix. So jumps on the bandwagon, and those videos go viral, and they laugh all the way to the bank. Retired Rick, member for 1 month. Hey, Rick, did you rejoin? That's great. You got a gifted membership. Tanya, member of the community for 12 months. I just saw that go by. That's great. That's great. Thank you. Thank you. But at any rate, it's fun. It's fun to talk about that stuff. And again, this stuff is my opinion. It is my opinion, and I think I'm right. Tuga says, Mitch rant. Yeah, I must have ranted about something. Jeff Johnson's here. Hi, Jeff. How you doing? Good to see you today. It wasn't easy to reject my PA's advice and not fix that. Yeah, it's hard. They got it so wrong. Now, there may be one in a certain group of people for whom statins may have some beneficial effect. But they're not prescribing them for that. They want to put it in the drinking water, for God's sakes. That was the scariest thing about my hospital stay was the hospitalist, the doctor they assigned to me to come in every day, make sure I was a statin freak. Scared the shit out of me. His big goal, and something that he was working towards and lobbying for at a government level, was to have all municipalities in America put statins in the drinking water. Seriously, you can't make this stuff up. And he was so proud of that. And he bragged to me about it. He never had a patient that had a heart attack because every one of his patients is on a statin. And everybody from birth on forward should be taking statins. How did the human race even get here without statins? The man is a lunatic. And this is the guy that's prescribing things for me. Statin, of course. And he kept telling me about the fact that, especially because I had a stroke, I need the statin, because studies have shown, he said, that statins have an effect, will help you not have a second stroke. Finally, I had to put up with him for 3 weeks. I finally said to him, listen, what's the lowest dose statin I can take to get you off my back? And I think I took him for like 2 days or 3 days before the nurse gave me the pill, but I didn't take him. I threw him away. Just to get this guy off my back, to make him stop lecturing me every time he came in, talking about statins in the drinking water. This is crazy. Peter says, my doctor is a well-meaning know-it-all. And it's also required to prescribe. Yeah, they're required to prescribe this. My VA doctor has to put in my notes that I was warned that my LDL is dangerously high and that I rejected the statin prescription to cover her ass. Even though after all those years with me, she now, I think, believes that I'm on the right track and that she's been taught a bunch of nonsense. She can't do that. She has to toe the company line and the government line. Lizzie, join the private. Lizzie, welcome. Welcome. We'll see you Thursday night. We'll get a chance to meet you. That's great. Thank you so much. And I encourage people to join that private community. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Josephine C is here. How you doing, Josephine? Where am I? 7:50. I'm still half an hour behind. All right, I'm gonna run down and I see a lot of comments running by mentioning Charlie Kirk. I don't want to go there. Not that I don't have my opinions, not that I couldn't rant for weeks about what's going on, but I'm going to have to leave that up to somebody else. I think that in the long run would only be destructive to me. But yes, I'm aware of all of it. And I'm embarrassed for this country, embarrassed for so many people. Their callousness, their lack of decorum, their brain damage, the fact that they most probably are vegans or vegetarians, and very young, most of them, but some of these people are just so disgusting a human being that I hope they've shown their ass. And that somebody who used to think highly of them will say, this time, asshole, you have gone too far. How could they not think that about these people? That's the extent of my Charlie Kirk commentary. But you got to know I've got it. You got to know I can get off on it. CB is here. Hi, CB. How you doing? Good to see you. Peter's talking about coffee creamer. I'm sure he's giving good advice. Peter is advising Patty of different things, and I trust Peter. I want to get through the chat. Mark Yost. Hi, Mark. How you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. Mental clarity keeps improving. Yes, that's an amazing thing, and that's something on Carnivore that you'll notice within a few weeks, is if you have the ability to even recognize brain fog when you're in it, you just don't feel normal. But anybody who really gets on Carnivore and that brain fog lifts, you got to notice it. You have to be able to notice it. Peter calls me the biggest carnivore star of all. No, I'm not, Peter. I don't know. I'm not even a star. I'm so old fart that people have to just put up with. Aaron is here. Hi, Aaron. And say hi to you. How you doing? Good to see you. Rick doesn't care either. That deserves a quack, Rick. That particular sound effect is basically is a duck language, and that quack quack actually is a duck. If you could translate it saying, I agree. So when you get one of those quack quack from me, you know it in duck, because I'm sure as well you are fairly fluent in duck. For example, this is an amused duck. This is a duck that's happy and laughing, probably, at a joke you just heard. See? That's how a duck would sound in a comedy club. Y'all didn't know I spoke duck, did you? Oh, Helen, I'm sorry I asked. No. I'm glad you're laughing. No, these things need to be said. I think pointing out absurdity sometimes is good. Now, again, it's my opinion. I may be wrong about the whole protein spare, but that's very misleading. Spare what protein? Modify. How do you modify a fast? You either eat or you don't eat. The only way I would ever think about modifying a fast would be zero nutrient liquids, 0 calorie liquids, 0 energy food. Do I drink coffee on my fast or not? Because the minute you start adding fat to your coffee, you're not fasting anymore, really. You're adding nutrients. You're adding calories. I don't buy into all this fasting stuff anyway. It's just like I don't fully buy into you can't be a carnivore if you don't eat raw lions, you know? I mean, for God's sakes, come on. We still have to be real about this stuff. Karen White, question. Hello from Canada. What do you think of fat fasting? Same thing. Same thing. There's no such thing as a fat fast. It's not a fast. Not a fast. Now, if you want to talk about high fat, low protein, no sugar diets, that's a diet. And there are as many of them as there are people putting out YouTube videos. So I think we need to stop using the word fasting if it involves eating anything other than drinking water, maybe coffee or tea. And even then, you got to make sure there's no caloric content in it. Rick says, I call it starving. Yes, that's what a fast is, basically starving. We're built to starve. We're built for that. We had to have been built for that or we never would have survived to be here today. If you study anthropology and you study archaeology, if you study any of these things and you believe the evidence and you study the methods by which the evidence was collected and they're valid, and you study that evidence up against all the evidence from the rest of the world, and you believe it's all true based on the level of science that we have today, and our level of science in detecting things that happened long ago is inclusive of everything. And in order to make a statement like I'm going to make right now, you better be up on the science. Most people, some archaeologists aren't even, and anthropologists aren't even up enough on the science to trust things like this and concepts like this. But because I've tried to validate this as much as I could with the science, and I study a lot of this stuff, there's a theory that just shy of 1 million years ago, the human race, Homo sapiens, well, Homo sapiens weren't even here 1 million years ago. I'm sorry, I meant genus Homo, our earlier human ancestors, before Homo sapien, before all the stuff that we hear about in Africa, before any of this, a choke point occurred on this planet where there were somewhere around, they figure, 1,000 human beings total. Maybe one of the closest times the genus Homo ever came to just extinction, of course, and then nothing. We would not be here today, or things would not be the same. This is long after the dinosaurs, long after all that, long after the first species of genus Homo, the Homo habilis, Homo erectus, Homo afarensis, kind of ape man, kind of still transitioning from a tree dweller to a bipedal carnivore because of all the factors that our science has showed us in the changes in geology, changes in weather, extinction events. All this plays into the big picture. But I'm pretty convinced that they're close on this. Of course, none of us was there, but 1,000,000 years ago, there were 1,000 human beings on this planet. We almost went extinct. And that means that every human being on the planet today is somehow related to those 1,000 people. When you start thinking on these terms, you can explain a lot to yourself, but that's an interesting tidbit. And I've been looking into that more and more and more and more of these things called choke points, because you can learn an awful lot if you can convince yourself that it's like an hourglass, that at certain points, we see that in animals all the time. You know, we hear about the pandas, we hear about all these different species that so many of them are close to extinction. It's just one chance event that allowed them to survive. And supposedly, these 1,000 or 1,500 humans, that population level maintained constant for about 100,000 years. Conditions were so tough, so cold, so little food, that when you look at the conditions back then, that these small group of humans survived, it will account for so much of our biology today that was forged when it was life or death. And you had to be one of the most fit for those conditions to survive. And that's the genetics eventually that got passed on to us. It's very interesting. Explains a lot when you look at human behavior today based on what must those people have been able to do and endure. It tells you a tremendous amount about why we have so many of the behavioral mechanisms, the addictive tendencies, and all that stuff that we have today. I can't make a living on YouTube talking about shit like this. Bores the hell out of most people. They can't begin to comprehend it. Maybe in a classroom, but I probably bore half the students too. Everybody's talking about fasting. Man, I got something started here. That's cool. That's cool. 8:09. Oh, God. This keeps getting later and later. I got to go, guys. I got to get out of here. Not that I get anywhere to go, but I'm trying not to let these things keep evolving into 2-hour, 3-hour live streams every morning. It's a lot of work. So let me run through the chat. I've done enough pontificating for today. People are getting tired. There's Tanya, been a member of the private community for 12 months. Congratulations. Welcome to you. Jem is here. Hi, Jem. Glad you made it this morning. Retired Rick's the Fisher calling his name. I understand, my friend. I understand. Jerry's here. I said hi to you yet this morning. Jerry in the middle of a forest. And who else? Who else didn't I say hi to? And we'll wrap it up. But it's been a little informative. I've had a good time. Got to express some more of my opinions. Again, welcome, Lizzie. Welcome. Question from Tuka. Did you see the short Sean Baker video here on YouTube about saturated fat and randomized study? No. Didn't see that. Don't watch those much anymore. Don't watch much Sean Baker, Anthony Chafee, or Ken Berry anymore. Not saying anything wrong with them. I just haven't heard anything new. I've seen so many studies that show me that saturated fat is the way we should be eating that I don't need to see any more evidence. And I don't trust any studies anyway. So it's a waste of time for me. For a new carnivore, somebody who's trying to come to terms with the fact that it's okay to eat bacon, yeah, they should watch that stuff until they can't stand it anymore. But if I hear Anthony Chafee tell me once more that plants are trying to kill me, I will lose my mind. And that's how people feel about me. I understand that. So many people, you only take so much of me. You've heard pretty much most of my opinions, and on to the next guy. That's called research. So it's good for the goose is good for the gander, I guess. I'm glad to see you here, Ellen. Two narrators and now moderators, rather. Wow. Ellen's getting active here towards the end of the chat. We're catching up. 8:30, about 1 minute behind. Let's see. We get to the end of it here. Ellen says hi. Said hi to Jerry Scotter. Finally chimed in. Scotter, glad you could make it. I could be wrong, but I doubt it too. Yeah, now you guys are getting the spirit. You guys are getting the spirit. CB Karnak. Hi, CB. Only fat fast is eating your own body fat. Well, actually fasting. That's true. That's true. That's if you can't rely on the meaning of a simple word like fast to mean you don't eat. If you keep trying to use that word in other contexts, nobody's going to get it straight. Everybody's going to be confused. So that should be the first thing you think of. You see somebody recommending a fast and telling you what to eat, you have to say time out. Whoa, time out. That's not a fast. Call it whatever you want. Call it a diet. But don't call it a fast. Because those of us who really fast kind of know that you're not supposed to eat. That, of all the things that is basic, that's one of them. Here I thought I was getting to the end, then you guys are chatting more now. You just won't stop. 8:30. Oh, I'm at 8:37 already. Holy cow. Let me get scroll. Ellen's keeping it going all by herself here. All right, I got to go, Ellen. I got to go. Say goodbye. Got to the end. Yes. Kitchen Witch. Lori, we're waiting for you. Hi, Lori. How you doing? Boy? Where you been? Where have you been? I hate to be rude. But I got to go. And let me make sure that my daughter's new dog is sick. Oh, no. Well, I'm going to have to call my daughter and offer my condolences. She's got a brand new puppy because the dog died. The puppy's got autoimmune issues. And is that not, I mean, what do they feed these new puppies? They poison them from day one with the kibble and crap and all the science diet. What do they expect? Or vet bills. That's what they expect. And that kind of mimics the way they treat humans. So I'll have to call my daughter. Oh, God, that's all she needs. I mean, she's so in love with the dogs. The dogs are such an important part of her life, but the worry and expense. Oh, it's one of the main reasons I won't go there. Cost is too high. Emotional cost is too high. At any rate, my friends, there's a little happy music for you. And say goodbye. Say goodbye in the chat. It is 20 minutes to 9. I've had a great time this morning, but obviously you guys have to go. We're down to about 94 of you. Appreciate you all coming in. I'll be back here tomorrow, and we'll do it all again. I had some good questions today. Give me a chance to pontificate a little bit. I hope everybody enjoyed it, and if you didn't agree with anything that I said, simply remember, that's just my opinion, and you're all entitled to yours, and I will not stop you. All right, have a great day. Lizzie says the vet told me my dog had worms and never had worms. She just wanted the $800 treatment. I said, yeah, you're such thieves. Some of them do a good job, but what a sick system we live in. More ways than one. Loretta says, till tomorrow. Lori says, bye all. Bye, Lori. And very good. Listen, my friends. Have a great day. Have a great day. Is the music going to end here soon so I can do this professionally? Yes. Take the rest of the day off and eat meat.